Hey gang, today we will be dividing a decimal by a whole number. We have already added and subtracted decimals. We have already multiplied decimals. So we're going to start dividing, and there's a couple situations when we divide with decimals. And so I want to cover them it'll probably take us 2 or 3 days. So today we're going to divide decimals by whole numbers. If you want to pause and write down that title. And when you are ready to go, unpause and continue. So let me remind you real fast how we multiplied decimals. If I was going to multiply 4 57/100 by 8, let's say, the strategy we interestingly use for that is we ignored the decimal and just multiplied however we normally would. Standard algorithm, area model, partial products, whatever you like. I'm just going to ignore the decimal for a minute and just multiply the numbers. 8 times 7 is 56. 5 is 40. 5 is 45. 8 times 4 is 32. Plus 4 is 36. And now that I'm done multiplying, I figured out where my decimal went by just using estimation, just using common sense. So I'm going to take these numbers now and I'm going to say, well, I'm multiplying really like 4 by 8 or 5 by 8, something like that, if I round this number. And I know both of those, so I'm just going to assume I'm looking for something that's kind of around like 32 or 40 from my number. Because remember, the decimal is not going to change my digits, it's just going to change where the decimal goes. So if I look through my options, if I put the decimal there, that's not really kind of in the 32 to 40 range. That doesn't make sense. If I put it here, it does. 36 and 56/100. If I put it here, nowhere close. If I put it here, nowhere close. So I find my decimal just by kind of using common sense estimation, and I just put it right there. Today, dividing is going to work the same way. So I want to divide my $75.58 lottery winning among my 3 favorite people. How much will each one get? So same kind of thing as yesterday. What I'm really going to do, easiest strategy, is to just divide the number without the decimal and then figure out where the decimal goes when I'm done. So here I go. I'm going to do 3 times what to get 7? I think I'm going to do 2. 3 times 2 is 6. A little standard algorithm review. Subtract and make 1. 15. 3 times 5 will give me exactly 15. Bring down the 5. 3 times 1 makes 5. No, it doesn't. It makes 3. 3 times 1 makes 3. Bring down my 8. 3 times 9 is 27. And that should finish the trick. So for the time being, I'm going to ignore this remainder right now. Remainders get a little confusing with this because they're just extra decimal. So what I want to do now is I just want to look and say, okay, well, where would my decimal go here? I have a little more than 2,519. And let's see, so 75 about divided by 3, that's about 25. So I'm looking for a place in my number to put 25. And I'm going to put it looks like right here for starters. That's very close to 25. Put it here too much. Put it there too little. $25.19. Actually, a little more. I have to split this other like 1/3 of a cent. But that's the gist of it, right? This is good enough for starters. Is each person's going to get $25.19. Let's do one together. All right. Oh, that's the wrong. All right. So over the summer, Dr. Dobler hiked 32 4/45 miles in about 12 hours. How many miles did he hike each hour? So I'm going to take my 32 and 45 hundredths miles. And I'm going to divide them by 12. And I'm going to ignore my decimal for the time being, and I'm going to get awfully close by doing that, and then just figure out where my decimal goes. So I'm working with a 2-digit divisor here. So I'm going to have to work with 2 numbers at a time here. So I'm looking at 12 times 3 is too much. So 12 times 2 is 24. That leaves me with 8. Bring this down. Let's see, I'm bad with my 12s. I know 12 times 5 is 60, which means I know 12 times 6 is 72. Look at these multiples. Which means 12 times, oh look, 7 is exactly 84. There we go. So 12 times 7 is 84. Now this was something that came up a lot of the time in examples that confused a few of us. When I do 0 here, I bring down my 5. 12 cannot go into 5, correct? So a lot of times I would catch somebody who would just stop here. They'd say, well, I'm done. If that's the case, I'm not actually done because I still have to have a number here, right? In my long division, I've got to have a number over my last digit. I've got to complete the job. So I know that even if it's a 0, that counts. But I've still got to finish the division by saying 12 times 0 is 0. And I'm going to have a remainder now of 5. Now, as far as this decimal business goes, for now, we're not going to worry about the remainder. We'll come back to that another day, how that works. We're going to just stop when we get to our remainder and figure out where our decimal should go. So if I hiked 32 miles in 12 hours, that's kind of like, rounding wise, I might say that's 30 miles in about 10 hours is pretty close. So I'm looking for a place to put my decimal that puts me at about 3 miles each hour. And I believe that would be right here. So I hiked 2 70 hundredths or 2 7/10 miles every hour when I did that hike. And so that works. So first strategy with dividing decimals, just ignore the decimal and then figure out where it goes later. We will look at some more strategies and continue this another day.